Candidates Forum for the candidates for the Congressional District number 26 in California. I'm David Marin, and the League of Women
Jerry. Jerry's been drooling over this new Sony digital camera that costs $80 and wants to get the best deal. Jerry finds out about Taposity.com and creates a free account. He then tells us about the digital camera he wants to buy. His listing is sent to hundreds of merchants who sell the exact camera he wants. 60 merchants pay Taposity $3 each to make Jerry an offer, and I'll send him their lowest prices. Jerry picks the best deal and buys the camera from the retailer's website. Once Jerry and the merchant confirm that the purchase is complete, Taposity sends Jerry a check for half the amount we collected from all the merchants who paid us to make him an offer. Because 60 merchants paid $3 each, we collected $180. After splitting this in half, Jerry earns $90, which covers the entire cost of the camera and actually makes him a profit of $10.
As a reminder, is a nonpartisan organization. We never endorse individual candidates. We believe forums like this one today, are part of our mission to increase voter awareness. We thank the candidates for being here today. On the right, we have Linda Parks, Jess Herrera, Al Goldberg, and Julia Brownlee. Thank you all very much. Tony Strickland was not able to be with us due to a conflict, and likewise with David Cruz-Thane. The way that the program will work today is we have opening statements from each candidate of 2 minutes. After that, we'll take questions from the audience with a 1.5 minute time allotted to respond. And then at the end of the program, we'll go in reverse order and do closing statements. When we get to the opening statements, we'll begin with Linda and end with Julia, and then we'll reverse that at the end. At this time, before we begin the opening statements, as part of the League's rules, we allow candidates who are not able to attend to submit one, and I will be reading the candidate statement for Tony Strickland. So this is Tony Strickland's opening statement. My schedule didn't allow me to address you personally, but I want to thank you for your attendance today. My father, Sergeant First Class Donald Strickland, an Army drill sergeant who fought in Korea and Vietnam, and my mother, Antoine, an immigrant from Germany, raised me with the idea that every generation must leave their community stronger than they found it. Like most, my parents scrimped and saved in order to give my siblings and me a brighter future. That's why I am committed to uniting our community, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, behind policies that create jobs and economic opportunity for those struggling to make ends meet. Job creation and retention have always been my highest priority, and I'm honored that my record earned a 100% rating from the Chamber of Commerce. We live in an increasingly unstable world, and America's mission to defend freedom has never been more important. I am concerned that deep defense cuts proposed by the Obama administration are not only bad for our nation's defense, but also bad for jobs here in our community. We must aggressively pursue a policy of energy independence and stop paying billions to nations who don't like us. My support for renewable energy and transforming America into an energy-efficient, energy-independent economy is not a partisan political issue. It's a jobs and national security issue. The Ventura County seat in Congress is critically important to our communities and our families. I look forward to meeting you personally and addressing your concerns in the days ahead. That's the statement from Tony Strickland. At this time, we'll move to Linda Parks. Linda, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement. Our timers will warn you when you have only 30 seconds remaining. Thank you. Linda Parks.
Thank you, and thank you to the League for this forum. I think it's really well, I'm an independent, and I want to tell you why I'm an independent. I have served a nonpartisan office my entire public service career. On the City Council in Thousand Oaks as mayor, and then also on the Board of Supervisors. I've always been in nonpartisan office. And you know, it's amazing what you can do if you don't have partisan bickering going on, the problems that we see right now in our federal government, even at the state level. It's really important to have people who will work with both Republicans and Democrats. And as a result of being in a nonpartisan office, I think, for as long as I have really received a lot of support from both Republicans and Democrats. You know, the government model that we have right now, it's just not working. You look at Washington, D.C., the fighting across the aisle, the refusal to work together. It's causing a lot of problems that aren't getting solved. Look at what we have, a $16 trillion deficit. Social Security just about bankrupt. We're looking at so many issues throughout our country that aren't being addressed because of the partisanship, the hyper-partisanship that's going on in our capital. We need to have people there that will work with both sides of the aisle. So it actually comes very natural to me to be an independent, because I do represent and have always represented both Republicans and Democrats and independents. I think there is a reason why we have so many people who are now independents. It's actually the fastest growing sector of the electorate. I'm also independent of special interests, and this is also something I think we need in our capital today. Thank you very much again for being here today, and I'm glad you'll be able to hear from us all and hear about how I can be our country's first independent in the House of Representatives.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jess Herrera.
Thank you, David. I want to thank the League of Women Voters also for this opportunity, and I want to thank you, David, too, for your work. I remember about 17 years ago, I went to my first forum. It was the League of Women's Voters, and it was a very successful forum for me, and I went on to have I am having a great bipartisan or nonpartisan career as a harbor commissioner. Just by way of introduction, I'm born in Oxnard. I grew up on the docks. I've been a labor leader. I represented the International Longshore and Warehouse Union on a coast-wide level. Then I became a harbor commissioner in 1994, and since then I've been working to attract economic engines into our community. I've been very active working with world-class customers, as we call them, to bring economic development into our community. We've created a lot of jobs. When I first got to the Port of Hueneme, we were underutilized. We had tin sheds. We didn't have the proper facilities. But after years of work, we have totally revitalized that port. And this is the same type of thing that I can do with Ventura County. I can be a bridge to those types of individuals and corporations that we can build this community. We can look outside the box. We can bring in new development. We can bring in new jobs, especially now at a time when we need work for veterans that are coming home and are disabled. I've already been talking with interests outside of our district that will work with us on these issues to further utilize the port and all of Ventura County. I feel that we've been overlooked for a long time. I've been knocking on a lot of doors ever since I became a harbor commissioner, and now, as your congressman, I'll be able to open those doors and really make a difference for Ventura County. This I know for a fact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next candidate is Albert Goldberg.
Hi, everybody. I wish to graciously, from the bottom of my heart, thank the League of Women's Voters for inviting me here today to speak. When I ran for Congress for Elton Gallagher's seat in 2000, and I was told that I would get no more than 1% of the vote, I was not given any media coverage and couldn't participate in any of these debates. In the primary, I got 20% of the Democratic Party vote, 20 times what they predicted, against my opponent Michael Case, who went on to run against Gallagher. Now, this is a historic election for the great state of California's congressional delegation. Republicans can vote for Democrats, and Democrats can vote for Republicans. In my life, I've voted for Republicans, I've voted for Democrats, and I've voted for independents. To those Republicans that blindly say they'll never vote for a Democrat because there are no good Democrats, and to those Democrats that blindly say they will never vote for a Republican because there are no good Republicans, I say to you, don't blind yourselves and others, please. Please, please open your eyes, open your hearts, and judge each and every candidate here today not by the label of their party, but by the quality, character, integrity, and honesty of each and individual candidate. I believe that the major issues of this campaign will be the economy, jobs, immigration, abortion, education, government assistance, as well as other important issues. It's my belief that Congress should obey and abide by the same laws that apply to all the citizens of these great United States. And on the back of my card in the back, it says, Congress shall make no laws that apply only to the senators and representatives that do not apply equally to the citizens of the United States. So vote for Al Goldberg for Congress to bring fairness and justice to Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Julia Brownlee.
Thank you, David, and I too want to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this very important forum here. I thank you for that. I have served in the California legislature for the last almost 6 years as an assemblywoman in the legislature, and have represented tens of thousands of people in Ventura County over the last 6 years. Working in a legislative body, working on bills, authoring bills, moving bills through the legislature, having bills and important policy issues that I think the folks in Ventura County care about, but bills that are signed by both Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I've had bills signed, and both by Jerry Brown. And so I believe I have the experience to move on to the next stage and moving on to Congress. I'm running for Congress because I want to continue to work on the issues that I have worked on here in California. And that is about economic recovery. It's about jobs for Californians and Americans. It's about a very high quality education. I've chaired the Education Committee in the legislature for the last 4 years. I'm the only member of the legislature that sits on every single educational committee there is in Sacramento. So education to me is still the civil rights issue of our time, and it is critically important that we provide a high-quality education to all of our children. It is not only a moral imperative, but it is an economic imperative. I have also worked hard in Sacramento around environmental issues and environmental protection, as well as healthcare issues, and trying to ensure high-quality healthcare at an affordable rate. Lastly, I would just like to say I have also been working on a lot of good government issues, and many of you know that I have been the author and have a Republican co-author with me on a bill called the California Disclose Act, and I'd like to tell you more about that, and I will thank you very much for this opportunity and for everyone in the audience's attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we begin with the questions, I do want to take just a moment to thank the Camarillo City Council, the City Manager, and the City Clerk for allowing us to have this event today, and also remind those in the audience that this will be available on kadytv.com later. Let's begin with the first question. Jess, we'll start with you, and this one is about veterans. How do you plan on getting better care for the veterans coming home with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, that's an interesting question, David. Obviously, funding would be very important to the Veterans Administration to take care of veterans that have this post-traumatic stress syndrome. I have many friends that I served with that came home with this ailment, and I'm very sensitive to it. Certainly, we had a philosophy of leaving no one behind on the battlefield, and certainly that would be the same philosophy that we would have in when they come back home. This is a really tough issue. I have friends that take medication for this and are still affected by it. So I would lend my full support of my office, David, to continuing this type of treatment for veterans, making sure that we can maybe even localize better veteran services in Ventura County for them to take advantage of.
Thank you. Albert, same question to you. What would you do to help veterans coming home?
Well, I hear about this from my wife from World War II, Korean, Vietnam, and the current Middle East veteran. She's a nurse at the VA hospital, and it is a tragic situation. In my dad's day, who served in World War II as a navigator on a pilot, they didn't have post-traumatic stress syndrome. He would just get really mad and scream. And we were just, as 3 children, accepted as that is what it is. It's very important. If you look at the situation with the IUDs and the explosions, the head concussions, the lack of the right headgear, the lack of the right bulletproof glass, and the Hummers, it's, going in, they should go in supplied with the right equipment to protect them, but those that do get hurt, I was hit by a City of LA garbage truck that was full, and I had a concussion, and for 2-3 years I was out of work and couldn't work, and it's a terrible thing to be disoriented and have a injury like that. Not that mine was as bad as theirs, nowhere near it, but it's an important thing, and money needs to be done and things need to be done, but we have to realize that Al-Qaeda is figuring in their attacks on the American military that it's easier to maim a soldier and that America for 30 to 50 years pays for this, like the guy on the motorcycle that drove by in Afghanistan and fired openly into a crowd of American soldiers. So we have to look at the enemy's position of what they're doing to set up this problem of how we're going to handle it and protect the soldiers going in so that there's less of a casualty in action.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
the stop sign.
Thank you. Julia, same question to you. How do you plan on getting better care for the veterans coming home with PTSD?
This is, I think, a very important question, and I think one that is important for Congress and our President to answer, because we have many, many men and women who have served in our armed forces, who have served our country, who have put their lives on the line, and many of these men and women are serving in Afghanistan and Iraq on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different assignments. Many are coming back with PTSD. It is critical that we allot the appropriate funding so that our veterans, wherever they return, whether it's California or any other state in our nation, that they have the appropriate services, the long-term services that they need to address this important issue. And it is it's an issue of which we need to have attention of professionals, psychological professionals, and I think that this is clear that this is also an issue, this particular syndrome is one that has not been appropriately addressed. So if I were in Congress, I would make sure that there was an appropriate amount of money budgeted for our veterans so that when they return home that they can get the services they need to have a full recovery and become active citizens again.
Thank you. And Linda, same question to you.
I look at the health benefits that Congress members get, and I think, these kind of benefits are the ones that our veterans should get. They've sacrificed for us, they served for us, they protected us, and we owe them. I think they need better health care benefits. Another thing that we could do for Ventura County is we could bring in a veterans hospital here. Right now our veterans are at least a clinic. Our veterans have to go all the way to Los Angeles and out into the valley. These are things that we could provide services here in Ventura County for them if we have some strong leadership there in Washington. We should also extend our gratitude to them by helping them transition better into society with job training, with education. There's a lot that we can do that we're not doing, and they do need more, and they do deserve more. But I like the idea of extending the same kind of health care benefits that Congress members have to our veterans.
Thank you. Al, we're going to start with you on the next question. So, Al, the question is, may God forbid, what series or sorts of contingency planning would you have to do in light of the possibility of Ventura County's naval bases being shut down or severely reduced in terms of their mission and staffing needs?
That's a great question. Now, it's important that we, as the leader of the world of freedom and democracy, continue as much as we can in peace with the world, but to do that, we need a very strong military. When the bases were set up, it was probably when we were at war. In World War II, there was a concern of the harbor, just like the Long Beach Harbor, and they put a base on both sides. I've discussed this with other people, to take Port Huenemi's base and merge it with Point Mugu and keep the same services, the same commitment, and even possibly increase the level of military strength. And then what you're looking at is Port Hueneme, a town about the size of Santa Monica. Half of it is the base. This part of the county, of the city of Ventura County, could be developed into some very high-end homes, which would bring in property taxes and marinas and other things, and we would still have the same base. I worked and tried with the City Council of Port Hueneme to bring into Ventura County a 5-star hotel where we had a hotel tied up, the worst hotel in, well, not the worst, one of the worst hotels in Port Hueneme, to tear it down, to move affordable housing credits over and build a waterfront 5-star hotel in the county, the first one, because if there's a 5-star hotel in the county and the wealthiest people of the world and the country come to it and they see the opportunity of clean industry in Ventura Ventura County, it would attract business tax dollars, property tax dollars, and jobs.
Thank you. Julia, same question. I'll just shorten it up a little bit, but what would you do if there was a chance of county's naval bases being shut down or severely reduced? What were the actions you would take?
Well, I would continue to do what I'm already doing as an assembly member, and that is working with my congressional counterparts, with the President's office, with the Department of Defense, to ensure that the naval base here does not get bracked. This naval base is critically important to Ventura County. It is the basis, one of the major bases of this economy, and so I think that this issue should be a non-negotiable issue, and we need to fight very, very hard to ensure that this base is protected in this county. And there's a big economic argument for this base, but there is what the Seabees do in Ventura County is very important, and they are all over our world really rebuilding countries, and they have an expertise that is unique, and so I would continue to do what I'm doing and ensure that this naval base continues to stay here in Ventura, continues to thrive, and continues to be a very important part of this community.
Thank you. Linda Parks, same question to you.
Naval Base Ventura County has an incredible strategic location that allows for our military to test fire missiles, and that is what makes it so special. I was there a couple of weeks ago on a warship, got to tour a warship, and to see the reason they are coming is because we have that ability to put out some decoys out there and let them test important warfare equipment. It is important for our national defense that we keep our Naval Base Ventura County there. And yes, it's also important for our economy. 6,000 civilian jobs come from that base. But I think the most important part is the fact that it is there and it is needed for our national security. Things that we can do to help protect the base include assuring that there is a buffer around the base. Other bases have been basically encroached on by development, and we have a lot of planes and jets that fly right over the paths there, and we want to make sure that that encroachment area is not developed. And so I would take issue with suggestions of developing that area, because what we need it for is for our jet fighters as well as our naval ships to be able to practice out there in the range. I've also testified at hearings before the Defense Department to give them the information that is so critical to our country. Let them know how important our base is, and I will continue to stand up and testify and make sure that they understand how important it is to not only Ventura County, but really to our national security.
Thank you. Jess, same question.
Naval Base Ventura County is essential to our local economy and critical to our national defense. I can proudly tell you that I have worked very closely with the United States Navy and also the Secretary of the Navy to create a joint use agreement between the Port of Hueneme and Naval Base Ventura County. This agreement has strengthened our Navy and also our commercial port. It helps in supplying a strategic place for the United States Navy to do business and for the Oxnard Harbor District to create jobs. I just came back from Washington a couple of days ago, where we met with the Department of Commerce to discuss these issues and also how we can create further more economic development through the port and in this area. We're very committed to the United States Naval Base Ventura County. We have worked to keep money here. We have a joint use agreement, as I said, that keeps revenue local for the United States Navy here for the needs that they have. The best way to keep the Navy base here and keep it strong is to use our joint use agreement and also what we call our unity of opportunity, which will bring in new economic development and make the Navy base extremely, even more important to the community, and keep it off that BRAC list. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin with Julia on this next question. Let's change the topic to seniors. In your public positions, can you tell us of specific actions or votes you have taken promoting senior welfare?
Well, thank you. In my first term in the legislature, I actually served on the Committee for Aging. We worked through a lot of important bills to provide services to seniors, to provide adult daycare centers, to provide in-home health services to seniors, to ensure, again, that their Medicare is protected. And so seniors are growing population, and with the baby boomers coming along, it's going to be an even larger population. So there is much more work to be done for seniors, and again, this is an issue that I would like to continue to work on in Congress. I think California has been a leader in some sense, particularly with in-home support services for seniors and disabled, to be able to provide those services in home so seniors don't have to go to nursing homes and institutions. I have fought hard over the last 6 years that I've been in the legislature, serving under the worst economic times that California has faced since the Great Depression, to protect funding for seniors.
Thank you. Linda, same question to you about your specific actions or votes you've taken to support seniors.
I've worked very much as a senior citizens advocate. One of the things I've done to bring attention to the needs and the growing demands of seniors is putting together senior summits, where we get about 350 seniors and all the care providers at Cal State Channel Islands, and commence to have a dialogue that describes what kind of needs and demands are there, and we're actually going to be putting forward another one in April, and that one's focusing on health and wellness. And I think that's a really important focus right now, because we do have an aging population. One of the biggest funding sources out there are health care to seniors. And in order to meet their comfortable setting, we can provide services to their homes. And it's a lot less costly in the end than having to go to, for example, a nursing home or a convalescent home. So it's kind of changing the paradigm. Instead of relying on uncomfortable hospitals to meet your demands, we can have seniors living at home and receiving the services that they need and improving their quality of life. So this is something that I would like to really work on in Congress, which is something that I think seniors very much would appreciate, having the ability to stay at home and to have the services that they need to help their quality of life. And it will be less expensive in the long run.
Thank you very much. Jess, same question to you about seniors.
Thank you, David. As a labor leader, it's been my honor to work on a coast-wide level negotiating contracts for working families that also included great benefits for seniors. They are often overlooked in contracts and negotiations, but through my work we've been able to identify areas in which seniors need help, like extended care, and those areas. Also, there's so many challenges right now that are going on for our seniors, and I made sure that in these contracts that I negotiated that affected about 10,000 families on the Pacific West Coast, that seniors had adequate coverage for all their needs, prescriptions, especially dental care, those types of things, and durable equipment, which is very important, wheelchairs and things of that nature that senior citizens need. I made sure those were included in those packages for seniors. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Al, same question to you about any efforts you've done in the past or actions you will take to help seniors.
Yes, one of the mailers I did when I ran for Congress in 2000 addressed senior elder abuse, which is a serious problem I haven't heard anyone mention in the questions. There is a huge amount of people, and as I'm a baby boomer, I was born in 1958. They said it ended in 58, then they moved it to 64. We're a huge bulge in the population that's growing ever bigger. Until in 1990, there was a huge bulge in the population. In some countries, they plan 50, 100, 200 years ahead. There has to be long-term planning and long-term thought to this problem, and that's what nobody is doing in Washington. You have to realize that people are now living to be 90 and 100 years that are being born today. So what are they going to do? Not only what are you going to do? Also, I think laws should be stricter.
Hello.
Find the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
Penalties should be harsher for people that take advantage of seniors, that take advantage of them, and people are told to do this or this, and they sign papers. I've run into people that are felons that have tricked people out of their homes and reported them to the DA, and they're sitting in jail right now for some fraud on some other stuff. And people have to look out for one another in the community. The younger people have to look after the seniors vice versa have to look after the younger. If someone brings a senior a deal, they should all know to check with an attorney or check with their friends and family, and not to do something where they'll be taken advantage of in a senior fraud or a senior elder scam situation, because I'm sure everyone's heard a horror story about that.
Thank you. Linda, we'll begin with you on the next question, and this is now shifting to education. What will you do to provide California education with relief from the No Child Left Behind Act?
Provide relief from the No Child Left Behind Act?
Or let's
I would just say, in general, the No Child Left Behind Act, the only concern I have, with the federal government telling teachers how to teach in the classroom, I think that is something we leave to the locals. But I think more important is the fact that our education system in California is in serious crisis. It is not being prioritized at the state level, and our colleges are hurting. They're closing down classrooms, and this is our future. If we can't prioritize the education of our college students, we're not going to be able to help our workforce. I have a business and economic roundtable of advisors that assist me, and they're made up of leaders throughout the county. And one of them tells me he's got 200 job openings. And where is he recruiting? He can't find them, so he's going overseas. We need to be able to have our students educated here in the United States, where they can learn science and math and the healthcare professions. And it is an important link to have our university systems and our college systems pairing up with our partnerships in the business side, so that we can have educated students that can be hired. So I'm very much in favor of working to see that we can get the proper education and training to help our workforce, which will help our economy.
Thank you. Jess, same question to you. What are your thoughts on the No Child Left Behind Act? What would you do to help California educators deal with it?
Well, I think education is the cornerstone to building America's future. And I see that teachers are great patriots because they have our future in their hands and they're working with them daily. It takes a national commitment for education to fully fund our schools and reduce our class sizes. My wife happens to be in the education business, and she heads up a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics program at Oxnard College. I understand the challenges that students are having these days. They're coming to school unprepared. I also understand the shortfalls in funding. And as a Port Commissioner, I have brought together educators and also businessmen to try and develop public-private partnerships that will help educate our kids and bring funds into the schools. As your congressman, I would go to their headquarters in New Jersey and places of that nature and tell them it's time that they participated even more fully with our schools and also with our children to create a better environment for them to learn in. Thank you.
Thank you. Al, same question to you. Your thoughts on No Child Left Behind and how to help California educators?
No child left behind. I know I'm not a politician like the rest of the people on the panel. I'm just a plain person, and I may be telling you what you don't want to hear. But the United States education system has basically failed in the last 10-plus years. My mom was a teacher with a master's degree. I've had educators in my family. What we need to do is study the school systems of the top leading students of the world, which are not in this country right now. We need to revamp the whole system. The No Child Left Behind thing is just another Washington, D.C. political jargon slogan, like a car in every garage or a chicken in every pot. It didn't work. The studies you read in the newspaper say it didn't work. So if it doesn't work, let's try something else that will work. Let's do what the other countries are doing that are bringing out the brightest and the smartest children in the world.
Thank you. Julia, same question to you.
Thanks. I had actually more time to discuss this topic because it's something that I know an awful lot about and have a lot of opinions on it. I think this is one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress is because we need to prioritize education in our country. There's no reason why we can be one of the wealthiest countries in the world and not have a superior educational system. So having said that, with regards to No Child Left Behind, the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind will happen after this election, after the president has been elected again. But the primary problem of No Child Left Behind is this high-stakes testing. Performance is based on one test score for California and for other states. And so as a consequence, the curriculum that is provided is all about teaching to the test and not having the depth and the breadth that we need within our curriculum so that our students are learning deeply but also are critical thinkers. I was the author of a bill in Sacramento to support California with many other countries, with many other states in the country to produce what we call common core standards in both language arts and mathematics. When California conforms to this, for the first time in a long time, California will be able to compare itself to the rest of the states in our country and to the rest of the world. And so we can really benchmark our students and know really how they're performing. Last but not least, it is funding and supporting of our students so that they can be successful and meet the proficiency standards that is laid out under No Child Left Behind.
Thank you. Jess, we're going to start with you on the next question. Let's change to health care. What is your position on the Affordable Care Act? Do you support it? And if not, what alternative do you propose?
No, I support the Affordable Care Act, David. I think there are 46 million uninsured Americans that need our help. This year, 45,000 people will die because they do not have adequate medical coverage. We need to beef this up and take care of these people. We should not walk away from any chance to also do the research that's needed that will ensure a better quality of life for our citizens. I know that there's many of us, like my mother, for example, that got Alzheimer's, and if we would have had the proper type of research, maybe that could have been prevented, and that illness could have been done away with. So I totally support that. Of all the industrial countries in the world, we are the only one that does not have total health care for our citizens, and it's a shame because we end up paying even more money, 6 times more money than the countries that do have these types of medical medicines. So I would work very hard to make sure that everyone is insured and has these types of benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Al, same question to you. What is your position on the Affordable Care Act? And if you do not support it, what alternative do you propose?
Well, just scratching the surface, and I'd have to do more research. From what people have sent me, I've seen 3 or 4 different things I'm going to touch on lightly. Argentina at the turn of the 1900s was as strong a power as the United States. It went semi-socialist. It went government-supported everything, give everything away to the people, and their economy went from second or first rate into a lower rate. Also, I've seen statistics, I don't know if they're true or not, I'd have to do research, of countries like Canada and in Europe that do have socialized medicine, and the death rates are higher, the 45,000 that was mentioned that die every year. How many people die younger and what age? Do you want a doctor to tell you when you're going to have to die? Also, the question of should businesses and small business owners be forced to buy health care? I mean, we need something, but what's on the proposed table might very well bankrupt the United States, and it might very well, with 100 plus, from what information I've gotten, unless it's wrong and I'd have to do more research, if there's going to be 100 plus new government federal bureaucracies created, I think it would be better if Congress spent 20% of each year reducing the government and reducing every size. It would be great if across the board they could cut everything 10%.
Thank you, Al. Julia, same question to you on the Affordable Care Act.
Thank you. Let me tell you what I support, and that's high-quality health care that's affordable and accessible for everyone. And I think this health care bill is a good start in the right direction. certainly there are component pieces of it. The preventive piece of the Affordable Health Care Act is very, very positive. I've benefited, or my family has benefited, because my son, who is not 26 years old, was able to be added on to my insurance program. The fact that you can't turn anybody away from for health care is a very, very positive direction for us to go in. I think we still have to work very, very hard on the quality issues and the affordability issues. And so I think we have to continue to work there, work in that direction. Again, I think this is the right step in the right direction, but there's much more work to do.
Thank you. Linda, same question.
I would just first have to say that it is a complex issue, and it requires people sitting around a table and discussing it in an adult fashion. And I think what we need to do in terms of working together will be looking at this complex issue from what have we benefited from. The Health Care Reform Act provides people with pre-existing conditions health insurance, and that is huge. That is a tremendous benefit, and one that I would not want to lose. But I think there are things that we can do to make it better. In the county of Ventura, we have been buying prescription drugs at bulk rate and partnering, and it has saved taxpayers $6 million a year. And that's just Ventura County. So we need to do something to put prescription drugs in the hands of our seniors and our people who are ill. If they need them, they shouldn't be something that will cost so much that they can't get them. And one way we can do that is doing what we've done with the Ventura County's model, and that's reducing the price of prescription medication. So that's something I'd like to do to that act, but I wouldn't want to, for example, repeal it if it means that we would I'd also want to crack down on Medicare fraud. There are a lot of needless procedures out there, and there's really not enough attention being paid to reducing the costs. And so I think we need to enforce Medicare provisions and crack down on Medicare. I also like to focus on preventative care, something else that has been very successful for our county. Instead of going to the emergency rooms, we give people a medical home, and these are the things that end up saving money in the long run.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, Al, we'll start with you on our next question. And just as at this moment, we're going to remind you all to try and speak into the microphones or pull them a little bit closer. So.
I try not to clown around, but if you can't enjoy life, I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go. The next question for you, Al. Do your religious beliefs prevent you from supporting birth control, Planned Parenthood, or a woman's right to choose?
Wow. Well, there are too many unloved children in this world. When I hear stories of women driving their babies into the lake or killing them because they don't want them, it's upsetting to me. I think a woman should have the right to do what she wants with her body. If she wants to have the baby, she wants to give it up for adoption, great. But why put a young child in life at a disadvantage because they have a mother who doesn't really love them and abuses them, or quite frankly possibly treats them badly, and that child grows up scarred in life and comes out on society angry or inflicts his pain and abuse on others. And I don't think every time I hear a story of a mother, ending the life of her child because she never wanted him in the first place, that's just a tragedy. So no, I think if we're true to the beliefs of freedom of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and the separation of church and state, anyone in political office should respect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the laws and the amendments.
Okay, thank you. Julia, same question to you about your views, your religious beliefs or otherwise, about preventing from supporting birth control, Planned Parenthood, or a woman's right to choose.
Well, I believe that
could you pull your microphone a
yes,
little closer?
I believe church and state, as was stated, needs to be separated, and I'm not sure if you're asking about my personal religious beliefs, but I will tell you that they don't impact any of these issues regarding a woman's right to choose. I have, again, in the California legislature, I have worked hard and have been the author on many bills sponsored by Planned Parenthood. I think the women's rights and women's rights, reproductive rights, are under siege in a national level. I think we have to be ever so vigilant to protect women's rights. This is something that we fought decades ago. I can't believe that we're actually fighting it again. But women's rights are under siege, and it's important to have the right kind of leadership, I think, in Congress to protect women's rights throughout our country.
Thank you. Linda, same question. Your religious beliefs on supporting birth control, Planned Parenthood, women's choice, and I assume the audience would like to know what you will do if you were elected regarding these issues.
Yeah, and I certainly support and defend our Constitution and the Senate and the Senate and the Senate and the Senate. It's essential. And what's happening with the right-wing extremisms going after women's right to choose is just shocking to me, to the point where they're actually concerned about access for women to get contraceptives. You know, to me, it's so far away from the mainstream, it's difficult to contemplate that these are our leaders. And I think that goes right to the issue again, that we can't have these extremes in Congress. We need people that are more moderate, and we're just going to add more fuel to the fire if we're going to elect people that are just going to get back in there and be extremists. So I'm very supportive of a woman's right to choose. I believe the laws that we have in place right now, which allow for women to get contraceptives with their health care plan, is just as important as what men can get with the health care plan.
Thank you. And Jess, we'll let you wrap up this question. So your thoughts about birth control, Planned Parenthood, and women's right to choose.
Well, let me say that I'm committed to all policies that ensure equality and opportunity for all women, whether that be in jobs, equal pay, health care, or any other area. Being a woman should not be a pre-existing condition. We should put an end to all of these biases and discriminations against women. As a congressman, I would support many of the acts that are out there, and also other ones that we could introduce, that like the Violence Against Women Act, which goes across not only our country but other countries, to stop violence against women. For example, in Mexico, we've had 370 women abducted and killed, and we don't have an answer as to why that is happening. So as a congressman, I would get behind this to stop this type of violation of women's rights, and also, you know, these types of disappearances that are going on throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I have quite a few questions that are somewhat individualized. I'm going to try and do my best to balance this. Julia, I'm going to start with you on this question, and it is, how would you compare and contrast your positions to Mr. Strickland's?
I would say they're very different, I mean, they're very, very different on all the issues that I really care about. I support a high-quality educational system. Mr. Strickland hasn't really demonstrated that in Sacramento. I've supported economic recovery, investment in a green economy, renewable energy. Mr. Strickland hasn't supported those kinds of things. I support environmental protections and the protection of our open space and the protection of our ocean and waterways, and protecting our clean the Clean Air Act and the Water Act, both in Congress, are also under siege at this point. But back to Tony Strickland. I think fundamentally, you know, when it comes to an investment in our infrastructure and our green economy, to providing jobs, to providing a high-quality educational system, to invest in our higher education system, to provide to protect our environment, to provide a high-quality health care for all. These are issues that we are very, very different. Tony tends to support legislation that is about corporations and the wealthy and protecting the wealthy and corporations. I stand for good values for Californians and good values for Americans.
All right. Thank you. And just as a programming note, the League does intend to host at least one or two more of these forums, so we'll try to give Mr. Strickland the opportunity to have that question as well, because we do expect him to join us at a future one. Linda, we have a question for you, and it's an interesting one. The question says, this is straight out of Tim Hurt's question from his article in the Ventura Star. For whom will you vote for Speaker of the House of Representatives? And please, no generalities.
Mm-hmm. And I will have to say I am the opposite of Tony Strickland. I just had to put that in there. I'm an independent, as I mentioned before, and I really reject and regret the fact that what we have in Congress now is the emphasis of party domination. I don't think that we should be having party before country. We really need to put our country before party. I'm not going into Congress to change the House. I'm not going in there to try to get the Democrats to win the House or the Republicans to the partisan issues that are keeping us from getting together and dealing with the real issues, which are our economy and growing our jobs. I am happy to, when I get to Congress, talk to any legislator and work with any legislator. And if they have a good bill, they know they can come to me, and I'm not going to say no just because of what party they're from. I'm an independent, and it's hard for people to understand. They think that you have to side with a Republican or you have to side with a Democrat, but I'm based on the issues. And I'm based on the best bill that we can get through. And my goal is to actually form a bipartisan committee, get people to work together, bridge that partisan divide. And so my emphasis isn't who am I going to vote for Speaker of the House, or who am I going to caucus with, what party. It isn't about that. And it's what's wrong with our country. That's why they can't get anything done in Congress, because they're so focused on the partisanship. They're forgetting the people of the United States. They're forgetting the Americans that put them there, and they put them there to see that they do the work for us.
Linda.
Thank you.
Before I leave you, though, Linda, there's actually 7 question cards with some variation of that question about who you will caucus with and who you would vote for Speaker. So I do want to give you one more opportunity. I mean, do you want to
When I go to
announce-
Congress, I am going without the baggage of a party label. And I understand that people, for example, with the Democratic Central Committee, who have been very good friends of mine, people from the GOP, they really want to know that's their most important issue, because they're looking out of lenses that have a D on them or that have an R on them.
Okay,
I don't look at people as, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat?
Linda, we need to move on. I just wanted to give you one more chance, not a whole
Okay,
other question. But
thank
thank you
you.
very much for
Thank
explaining
you.
your position. Jess, we have a question for you. Besides port facility development, what other areas of Ventura County have you identified as high priorities for a sustainability second to none?
Well, David, I'm looking at the entire area of Ventura County, from Oxnard to Santa Clarita Valley. It's going to be all-inclusive. What I plan to do when I get to Congress is I'm going to have a community action network where I'm going to meet with all of you on a regular basis, and we're going to sit down in a room, at least on a quarterly basis, with all the community leaders and people that, like you, that want to participate, and we're going to talk about the needs of Ventura County. And we're going to find out why we're not moving forward, where the challenges are, where the opportunities are, and we're going to move forward, or we're going to know why we're not moving forward. As I said, as a Harbor Commissioner, I've represented about 225,000 people within Ventura County. With this opportunity, I'm going to represent you all, and I'm going to make sure that you all get what you're entitled to. I will be working in every corner of this county to bring economic development, because that is what we need. We have a lot of rhetoric about jobs, but I'm the only candidate that has actually created jobs and worked with companies to provide that for Ventura County, and believe me, I know how to do that. And I know how to work with both sides of the aisle to get these things done, and I have done that. So, as your representative, you can count on me to be accessible to you, to be available to you, so that we can sit down and we can find out where the stumbling blocks are, so that we can move forward together as a county. This is a new frontier, the new opportunity for us to work together. Let's take advantage of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Al, this question's to you. It is the only I don't know that any surprised with your answer, but the question is, in the event that you are trailing behind in the polls, will you endorse another candidate you trust to represent you, or will you continue to the end?
Oh my goodness. I had to take an oath down at the government center, unless I'm wrong, saying that I can't drop out of the race. So I'd be breaking an oath. So, you know, if you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to other people. I don't believe I would. When I ran in 2000, one of my emphases was to try to do something about getting the National Hate Crime Bill passed, because I had signs that said Goldberg, freedom and equality for all. I also, a major issue was seniors abuse and senior fraud against seniors. If I was trailing behind, which I don't think I'll do once I get donations and contributions and things up and running into full gear, I took an oath not to. So then, you know, and there's a flyer in the back where I now am getting some offices and volunteers going in a P.O. box. If anybody wanted to send us a check, we wouldn't send it back, I promise. But basically, no, I don't think I would fall behind. I would fight, and then if I felt I had a chance in the next election, probably run again. Because my biggest problem is getting my name out there in recognition, because last time when I received 20% of the Democratic Party vote, I had a budget of $12,000. Article in the LA Times, I was kept out of these forums. The biggest thing is to get name recognition and the word spread out there and volunteers and more people out there. So I would probably run again.
Okay, thank you very much. Linda, it's your turn to be first. And candidates, let's get a little bit more of your philosophy about some of these things. The middle class, we've currently heard a lot about 1% of the Occupy movements. So in general, these questions are asking about services to middle class citizens who may not necessarily qualify as indigent. So I think the question is asking about people that are in the middle class, fall through the cracks. They're not necessarily indigent, but they need services. Perhaps they're disabled. So what are your thoughts about taking care of those who are not quite indigent, they're part of the middle class, but they're struggling? And go ahead, Linda.
Well, I think the answer to that is assuring that we can help our economy and help our economy to grow. And I have several different suggestions on how we can do that, and also helping people to get jobs. It's a very big hardship. Not only are you having problems, middle-class Americans, with our houses being underwater, but then you lose a job and you're risking homelessness. And so what we need to do is be able to bolster that by helping them find the jobs, to get the training, to help our economy grow again. And that will also help government too, because we are a partnership. Right now, we can do things with our government tax codes, for example. We could simplify our tax codes, shrink the size of the IRS, close corporate loopholes, things like that that will actually bring more funds into our government and be able to have more ability to provide services where they're needed. But my main emphasis is that we can do things for the economy, and some of the things I've done on the Board of Supervisors is actually we've taken welfare, money that would have gone to an individual for welfare and given it to the employer. And then the employer hires the the individual that would have otherwise got the welfare payment, gives them a job, gives them training, and in that way we're not only helping the business person, we're also helping the individual to have that job. So there's a lot of win-win situations that are out there that I think that we can do to assist our economy.
Thank you. Jess, same question to you.
Well, David, as we all know, it's the economy. And people fall through the cracks because they don't have good jobs that provide good benefits. And once again, I will tell you that this is the one thing that's been my passion my entire life, whether working with working people or businesses, is to attract businesses that do provide these types of benefits. For example, we attracted BMW, that's been in our port for 20 years, and if you go and visit that plant, you will see that people working there have been there for 20 years because they're treated well, they're paid well, and they get good health insurance. My sister was one of those people that fell through the cracks. She was working as a secretary. She was diagnosed with cancer, but she didn't make enough money and her employer didn't have good insurance, that we had to find a way to pay for her operation and make sure that she got good medical care. So I understand those challenges, and that's why I'm so passionate about creating those jobs that do provide those types.
Salvage the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
Of health care benefits. It makes success for the county, for the community. It brings good employers in, and that's what we're looking to produce here. Thank you.
Thank you. Al, same question to you. Your thoughts about middle class falling through the cracks and helping those in society who need help.
When I was a boy, my father told me that Americans had the greatest work ethic in the world. Right now, the work ethic is kind of ridiculous. There's all these people that are generational and more people coming into the country that are generational, multi-generational people dependent upon welfare. Government assistance. I mean, I like what Florida is doing, although some people say it's quite radical, where what's wrong with drug testing or even going a step further, fingerprinting to prevent fraud from people collecting 10 sets of welfare checks. I would encourage the breakup of the big banks, like the breakups of the big railroads and the breakups of AT&T and the startup of community local banks that in turn could fund small businesses. There are people that are unemployed that have skills that could go out and with almost no money start a small business doing something, hauling trash, painting walls, taking out garbage, even get jobs washing dishes that people are refusing to take that they should take if they really want to work. There's jobs out there. I think that the big banks are just taking complete advantage through Congress of the American people and the TARP money. It's ridiculous. I have a plan that would solve the foreclosure problem, that would keep people in their homes, that would make America a fortune. But unless I get to Congress and you get out and tell all your friends and family to vote for me, Al Goldberg, I'll never get there, and it'll be tough because there's 6 people running. There were 12, so to remember my name, Al Goldberg, it's like Whoopi Goldberg or Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, but I'm not funny, I have short hair, and I don't hold the title for wrestling wins.
Thank you, Al.
Word association. Remember.
That's your time. Thank you very much. Julia, we'll wrap up with you on this question about the middle class.
Well, this is the whole reason why I'm running for Congress. This is it. I'm for Main Street, not for Wall Street. I want to get people back to work. I want to invest in our infrastructure, invest in a green economy. People need to be sure that they have housing for those people who are underwater. We need to assist them and help them stay in their housing. For those who don't own a home, we need to make sure that they have affordable housing. Education. Here in California, students aren't able to go to our higher education system anymore because we're balancing, and the United States is balancing its budget on the backs of students and the poor. And we need to make sure that we have high-quality education, affordable education. Our elderly, again, we have a growing population of elderly folks, and we need to take care of them and provide those services, and particularly for the disabled, too. And I just want to mention one bill that I carried and had signed into law in California, and that was to make sure that the working disabled who worked and earned an income could actually save a portion of that income and not be disallowed from other services, so that they could actually save and have an income in order to have a better quality of life but still be guaranteed the services that they needed.
Thank you. Jess, we'll start with you on the next question. We're sort of running out of time. I'm sure we get these questions answered from the audience about your thoughts on the deficit and Social Security and Medicare, and to the degree possible, specifically as you can, what would you do to help cut the deficit? What is your position about Social Security and cutting Medicare?
Well, you know, David, the deficit is going to be cut when our economy turns around. This is a consumer-driven economy, and we know that to turn the budget around, we first have to create an economic development community and jobs. That goes without saying. And when you create jobs, these other areas like Social Security and taxes start to take care of themselves. They start to come into our government. So the first thing that we have to do, and I know it's very repetitious, but if you ask the economists, that's the only way that you can lower the deficit, is by first creating jobs. And this is a consumer-driven economy, and we do need to get consumers out there working and paying into our economy. This is the only way we're going to turn it around. As far as Social Security, a promise made is a promise kept. We must make sure that it's solvent and take care of it. If we need to raise the cap on the taxes to ensure for the next 50 years, we need to do that. But that is what I believe as far as Social Security and the economy and the budget. Thanks.
Okay. Al, same question to you. What would you specifically do to cut the deficit? Your positions on Social Security and Medicare.
Wow, 3 questions, a minute and 30 seconds. Okay, cut the deficit. It'd be nice just straight across the board. Everybody's got to suck in their gut and take a little hit, 10 to 15% across the board for all programs. Oh, but what about my favorite program? Well, that's what's causing the problem. Every congressman is fighting for their favorite program. So I think we should all share equally in taking less across the board. Hurt in the short run, but it's better in the long run for future. Your great-grandchildren will have to be paying this debt to China and the other countries that are holding our paper. I think we should have tariffs on people that are building products. I think it's ridiculous that we rebuild Afghanistan, Iran, Germany, and Japan to have better car industries than us, TV, shoes, every product, so that the American worker can get jobs. The deficit, I think that what we should do is, for the companies that are multi-international companies that keep jobs in this country, keep the taxes the same. Some of them aren't paying any taxes, but they should. But the companies that are taking jobs offshore and taking jobs away from America and creating the deficit by bringing in products with cheap labor and a spiraling snowball down a hill, they should be taxed. Why should a company make $32 billion and not pay any tax and cut 100,000 American jobs, and then there's 100,000 more people unemployment and on the general relief rolls? What was the rest of the question?
Your positions on Social Security and Medicare.
I've not got the stop sign.
Okay. Julia, same question to you. Your thoughts about cutting the deficit and Social Security and Medicare.
Certainly, Social Security and Medicare need to be protected under all circumstances. And I think, quite frankly, what the budget that the House Republicans have presented over the last few weeks is a budget that seems to be to support a government of the people, by the people, and for the very wealthy people, and not any more than that. And so I don't think that there's anything courageous about cutting Social Security or Medicare for seniors in order to cut taxes for the super wealthy. So in order to address the deficit, we have to do it in a very balanced and careful approach, and that is to say we need to create the jobs, but we've got to look at the revenue side of the house, and we've got to look at where we can tighten our belt. It's important to balance a budget and to address this deficit over a period of time so that we are living within our means. But we can't do that in year 1 or year 2 without really devastating, I think, the poor, the needy, and the middle class.
Thank you. Linda, we'll wrap up with you on this question.
Certainly, I believe we do have to protect Medicare, but we also have to take care of the amazing amount of fraud that I'm hearing about with Medicare. And we also, of course, have to protect Social Security. In terms of balancing the budget, we're borrowing 42 cents on every dollar, and that money is all going to China. You know, we need to stimulate our economy, and one of the ways we can do it is by partnering with our global partners. Instead of our companies going abroad, we need to give them incentives to stay in the United States. I wouldn't chop everything 10%. Leadership is problem solving. And we have to look carefully. I would look at it more with a scalpel as to what needs to be cut than just chopping everything by 10%. Why are we having such difficulty? The Ryan budget's never going to pass because the Democrats and the Republicans aren't going to agree on it, and we're probably going to end up in another stalemate. And unless we get some people in there that are actually going to work together to try to come up with a resolution, we're going to end up in another stalemate, and that's going to hurt our economy even worse. And one of the reasons they can't come together is because of all the special interest money that is influencing their decision. I'm not taking any special interest money, not from parties or PACs or unions or corporations, and as a result of that, I'm not going to have to be beholden to anyone. I think we need to make sure that the people that we have elected are representing the Americans and not the corporations and special interests. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one last question, and we haven't really touched on foreign affairs, so the question is about what are your positions on the war in Afghanistan, potential war in Iran, and this is your last opportunity to talk about foreign affairs if you want to mention anything in that area. And we will begin with you, Al.
Okay, there's a question of nuclear power in Iran. There's a whole question of what is America's job. When the founding fathers started this country, we wanted isolationism. Somewhere after World War II, and Eisenhower warned about it with the military-industrial complex, which we need to keep strong, to keep a strong defense for peace. It may have gotten a little out of hand when we're going into so many countries to bring democracy to that part of the world, and then that democracy builds factories that take away jobs and hurts our standard of living. Did the founding fathers intend us to spread democracy across the world or not? If the majority of Congress rules, and the Senate, because it's foreign affairs, as the representatives of the people, that we have to go in, we have to go in. I would rather see something like carpet bombing or stronger weapons used. There was a question of sending people into, at the end of World War II, or use nuclear weapons. There's a question of, is it better to bomb? Because once, as we discussed before, you put soldiers on the ground, on foot, and you spend money on all of this equipment, which gets destroyed or left behind, and you send in billions of dollars that get stolen by the locals. We take a loss hit. We don't protect the soldiers with the right equipment, bulletproof glass, helmets, other things. We sustain casualties, and it is, as Osama bin Laden's and Al-Qaeda's plan was, to hurt America's economy by drawing us into long wars overseas. We need quick, fast wars. Get in,
Al,
get out, and
we're at the stop point. Sorry to interrupt you, but okay. 1.5 minutes for everybody. Got to be equal. Julia, same question to you. Your stand on the war in Afghanistan, potential one in Iran, and anything else around foreign affairs.
Well, I think we have to continue to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan, and I think we need to start taking care of our issues here at home. I think, with the issue of Iran, I think obviously we need to continue to utilize all of the sanctions that have been created. We need to use diplomacy, and I think we need to certainly approach this in a very careful way, in a very diplomatic way. I think at the end of the day, we probably have to leave sort of all the options on the table, if you will, because quite frankly, I think that's the only way that diplomacy really works, is to make sure that all of those issues are on the table. There is a lot, I think, I want to be honest with everyone here, I think there's a lot for me to learn about international issues and understanding all of the countries around our globe, and I am trying to take as much time as I possibly can to understand those issues, because I think as a member of Congress it's going to be imperative that I do. But I would say we need to continue to withdraw our troops out of Afghanistan. That war is not winnable. We need to bring our troops back, take care of our troops, and take care of our domestic issues here in the United States.
Thank you. Linda, same question to you.
Well, first of all, I would listen to the experts, our military brass, our intelligence community, and make sure that they have all the information that they need. We definitely need to invest in that type of cyber offense and defense, and also better outfit our troops. As far as Afghanistan goes, yeah, I definitely think we need to get our troops out. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. But we do have Arab unrest, and what is best to do there, I think, is to work with the Arab nations. We don't have to police the world, but we do need to assure peace where we can. Negotiations, I think, is obviously the best thing you can do. Sanctions. Would I take everything off the table? I think that the first and foremost is to make sure that we have experts advising and listen to the experts. It's a dangerous world out there. Ever since 9/11, we have serious concerns in the United States for our own safety. But I think we need to do what we can as peacemakers, not war makers, to be able to work with our global partners and be there for them. Let the Arab nations know that we're there to assist them, but I don't think we should be imposing ourselves into areas, and I do think, though, we have to certainly make sure that Israel is protected. They are our best friend in the Middle East. So that's where my positions are, and I think that there's a lot that we can do in terms of assisting our military and assisting our intelligence community to see that they have the best information that they can get so we can make the best decisions.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jess, we'll wrap up with you on this question. Your position, the war in Afghanistan, potential one in Iran, anything else, foreign affairs?
Yes, obviously I would not like to see a war in Iran. You know, America has a record of leadership, and that's what we should continue as having, is leadership, and lead by example, not necessarily by fear. We are in a dangerous cycle at this time of the military, industrial, congressional complex, where these companies that purchase arms for these wars are also lobbying our congressmen with the same dollars that they purchase those war items with. And we need to stop that. We need to pass legislation that will not allow them to use taxpayer dollars that were intended for the purchase of military equipment to also be used for lobbying. Otherwise, this cycle will never end. As far as Iran is concerned, we have to be very careful there. Diplomacy is very important. Obviously, the sanctions are. The danger with the sanctions is that they harm the poor people in that country, and they're not really putting pressure on the leadership. However, we have to be careful to make sure that Ahmadinejad stays in place, because we would not want to turn this country over to the Ayatollahs, which would certainly be a more dangerous position for us, because they would be more radical, and we're not sure what they would do in those particular cases. Did I?
You have 30 more seconds.
I have 30, okay. You know, this is also very expensive for our country. It's projected that in the next, I believe it's 30 years, we're going to spend $7 trillion on just our Navy to patrol the Middle East. So we need to get this thing in hand. And that's also an expenditure of a great deal of energy that's going to be used by these vessels. The Department of Defense is the #1 user of energy, of industrial energy in the world, using about $20 billion a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. And you've been a terrific audience. How about a round of applause for these 4 candidates? We're going to start with Julia for the closing statement, but before we do that, I'd just like to let everyone know that the League of Women Voters helps maintain a website called smartvoter.org. We have these bookmarks in the back. You can pick one up. On this website, smartvoter.org, you can learn information about all candidates in most races, and they've actually given you information about how to get to their websites, etc. So it's a great source of nonpartisan information. At this time, we'll begin our closing statements, and we'll begin with Julia Brownlee.
Thank you very much, and again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for this very important forum, and thank you to the audience for all being here and taking an interest. It has been my greatest privilege to serve in the California legislature and to represent many of the folks in Ventura County over the last 6 years. I believe that that experience prepares me to move on and to be a congresswoman. My perspective in terms of going to Congress is to represent the people in Ventura, to represent their values, to provide policy that is representative of the issues that they care most about, and to deliver for Ventura County. I think I have done that. I have a record that demonstrates that in the California legislature, and I am very honored and privileged to have Congresswoman Lois Capps supporting my candidacy, to have Supervisor Steve Bennett and Kathy Long supporting me in this race, having Jack O'Connell representing me, Marianne Rooney and Kathy Smith, and David Pollock, who is in this race and is is in this room today who is now supporting my candidacy, and he was a very, very strong candidate. And many, many others in Ventura County who support me. I believe that I can represent you well in Washington, and I want the residents of Ventura to be my counsel, and I think together we can make America a better country to live in.
Thank you very much. Our next closing statement will be from Al Goldberg.
Well, I say to everyone here today, my friends, that I believe, and I ask you to believe with me, that we live in lucky and blessed to live in the greatest country on earth and in history. These United States, our country, from generation to generation over time have not only sustained greatness, but I believe in the future will only continue to just get better and better over time. Please go out and take great pride in your country and spread that belief today. Please go out and take great pride in Ventura County, our beautiful mountains, our seas, our lakes, and weather. But most importantly, please take pride in your God and take great pride in your family, your wives, your husbands, parents, children, grandparents, and especially and most importantly, take great pride in yourselves and the goodness and greatness of God and your fellow brothers and sisters. When I ran for Congress in 2000, my sign said Goldberg, freedom and equality for all. Goldberg, freedom and equality for all. America is now at a crossroads. We're at a time and a place with the economy where we've never been before in my generation. The moral worldwide struggle of good over evil, right versus wrong, and fairness and equality for all men and women, which flows like a river to the sea, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, in the great glorious grand document, the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men, or to be politically correct here in the presence of the fine and fabulous Women League of Voters, that all people are created equal. It is my belief that Congress should obey and abide the same laws that apply to the citizens of these great United States. It shouldn't be like England, where the kings and the serfs, there's special laws for Congress and senators and not the rest of us. My card says vote smart on the front. On the back it says Congress shall make no law that applies only to the senators and representatives that does not apply equally to the citizens of the United States. So on June 5th, vote for Al Goldberg for Congress to bring fairness and justice to Washington, D.C.
Thank you very much. Jess, we'll go to you for your closing statement.
Thank you, David. 17 years ago, the voters of Ventura County and Oxnard and Port Hueneme gave me a public trust. And I took that public trust very seriously in working in the Port of Hueneme to turn that port around and take one of California's primary economic resources and turn it into a billion-dollar asset for this entire county. I believe that's the same type of work that I can do for you as your congressman for Ventura County. There will be no corner left unturned that I will not go to see what we can do for this great county. We have a $2 billion agricultural industry. We have the port. We have the Navy base. We have many resources still here, and we still have not tapped them all. And as I said before, as your congressman, I will be here with you. With my Community Action Network, we will sit down together, and I will listen to you because I believe that it is necessary to listen to those that are closest to the problem to find the solutions. So I will be here with you. You can pick up your phone and you can call me directly and we'll talk about what needs to be done for Ventura County. They say the past is prologue. Please look at my record. Please look at real achievements about creating jobs and bringing economic development to this county. This is what we need most today. This is what I know how to do. This is what I will do. I will knock on those doors that have been closed up until now, and we will open them together, and we will benefit together as a community. You can believe me and you can trust in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next closing statement is Linda Parks.
We have a historic opportunity. Can you imagine sending someone to Congress who is an independent? I said something that like I'd be the first independent. Actually, I would not be the first. Our country founded our founders, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence. Do you know what he said about the party system? He said, if I could not go to heaven but with a party, I wouldn't want to go to heaven. That's how much he didn't like the party system. Our first president of the United States, George Washington, he spoke of, quote, the revenge natural to party dissension. It's just natural that the parties would have that kind of revenge, is what he referred to it as. We have an opportunity to tell the nation that we're tired of the partisan bickering. We're tired of the fact that they can't come to the table and work together. And what better message to send right now? We will be watched. We have an open primary, very unique in California. It gives us the opportunity to shed the party baggage and to actually vote for the best candidate. And I'll tell you, I have had the support of many of the individuals that Julia Brownlee has now. But I don't have it. And I think it's very important to point out, if you go to my website, sendlinda.com, you'll see a whole host of people who identified with me, whether they are Republicans or Democrats. You can read their quotes of why they're endorsing me, and then they'll say that they're a Republican or a Democrat, and that is very unique. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an opportunity here to send a message, and that message is very clean. Someone who is not taking PAC money or special interest money, and that person wins, when we're going to see millions and millions and millions of dollars of PAC money hit us in the next few weeks and still have someone who's not taking it win, I ask you to come together and support someone that will allow us to tell the nation it's time to stop the partisan gamesmanship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. A little bit of, okay, let's give him a round of applause. Sure. And just a little bit of housekeeping before I let you go. The League of Women Voters is open to membership, both men and women. I've been a member for many years. We have membership forms in the back there. I'd also like to take a moment again to thank the City Council of Camarillo and the staff for helping us to put on today's event. And I also want to take a moment to thank all of the League volunteers. We had Pam, Mary, Carmen, Lois, Eunice, Sue, and Betty. We appreciate their help today, and how about a round for them? And one other point, earlier in the program I read the statement from Tony Strickland. According to League rules, we allow candidates who choose not to attend to send a statement. Mr. Cruz-Thane did not send one in, so that was the reason he was skipped. But both candidates, David Cruz-Thane and Tony Strickland, did express their sadness that they were not able to get out of other conflicts and be here with us today, everybody. At this time, I'm David Marin with the League of Women Voters, thanking you all for being here, and we'll see you at the next one.